can't hold you down, they can't hold me down. If God said it's so, then there's no other sound. Authority meant steps have been ordered, it's written, we're blessed. I rocks with the clouds, can't hold you down, they can't hold me down. Relying on them, what this bitch all about. I hard in my heart, but got soft in my heart. These moments are hard, approaching the best of what you stand apart. I call on the Lord.
So usually when we pull a document for a deep dive for you guys, we're looking at something pretty standard.
Right, like a quarterly earnings report or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. Or a white paper on AI.
Yeah.
Maybe a new piece of legislation if we're feeling particularly dry that week. It's usually, predictable stuff.
Predictable is safe. Predictable is comfortable.
But today,
Mhm.
today we are looking at something that feels like it fell out of a parallel dimension of contract law.
It really does.
It's a document that starts with a totally mundane billing dispute, something I think we've all dealt with. And then it just spirals into a liability claim that is roughly the size of the GDP of the Netherlands.
It is a staggering leap in logic, yes.
Mhm.
And purely from a documentation standpoint, it is a fascinating artifact.
Okay, so we were talking about a notice of intent to file formal grievance. It's dated February 24, 2026, so this is happening right now. And the claimant is a group called Noble Moves DAO Construct LLC.
Quite the name.
Yeah, and the people they are angry at. It is not a small list. We have
Yeah.
Sony Music Entertainment, Alamo Records, Google, and even the OCC, the Office of the Controller of the Currency.
That is the heavy hitter list. You have the music industry, the tech infrastructure, and the banking regulators all named in the exact same breath.
And the number attached to this grievance? I honestly had to count the commas to make sure I was reading it right.
It's a lot of commas.
It's over $940 billion.
To be precise, the document lists a systemic liability of $940,248,348,000.
Unbelievable.
And that is separate from a $50 million licensing floor.
Right. So our mission today for you guys listening is to figure out how on earth you get from point A to point B. How does a dispute over what looks like a $14 subscription fee escalate into a $1 trillion legal threat involving something called linguistics as a service?
It is a total collision of worlds. On one side, you have the automated, rigid systems of big tech and banking, the algorithms that run our lives.
Right.
On the other side, you have this very complex, almost philosophical view of digital identity and value held by Noble Moves DAO.
It feels like a David and Goliath story.
Yeah.
But David has a calculator, a very specific theory of language, and he is absolutely furious.
Furious and methodical.
So let's start at the beginning. What actually triggered this? Because usually when someone demands almost $1 trillion, it's because a factory exploded or a massive bank collapsed. Here it seems to be about being locked out of an account.
That is the spark. If you strip away the massive numbers for a moment, the core event is something incredibly relatable. The user representing this Noble Moves DAO alleges that they were locked out of their account by a system demanding $14.95.
The dreaded paywall, the
Yeah.
update your payment info screen of death.
Right, we've all seen it. But here is the catch, and this is crucial to their entire argument. They claim their status was already active.
Wait, so they'd already paid?
The document explicitly cites an active status valid through March 8, 2026.
Okay, so if I'm in their shoes, the green light is on.
Yeah.
I've paid my dues. I'm good until March.
Correct. But the system, likely an automated script or a bot, slapped a lock on the account anyway, demanding an update or a payment of that $14.95.
So the system is just straight up contradicting itself. It says you're active, but it also says pay me or you can't come in.
Precisely. Now, most people would call customer service, sit on hold for an hour, maybe send an angry tweet.
Right.
But Noble Moves DAO Construct frames this specific glitch as mechanical fraud.
Mechanical fraud. That is a very specific, very weighty term for basically saying your computer made a mistake.
It implies intent, or at least negligence, so severe it mimics intent. The document argues that this lock wasn't just a bug, it was a bad faith attempt to bypass the established 80-day standing.
Meaning they believe the system knew or should have known they were active, but locked them out anyway just to extract cash.
That's the allegation. They are arguing that when a machine ignores its own data to demand money, that isn't an error. That is a fraudulent extraction attempt. It's a predatory algorithm.
I have to admit there is something deeply satisfying about that definition. We've all felt that helpless rage when a computer says no for absolutely no reason.
Exactly.
But usually the stakes are just, I don't know, I can't listen to my playlist on a train for an hour. Here they claim the stakes are much, much higher.
Significantly higher. This is where the document uses the term asset gatekeeping.
Right, I saw that. They talk about logging out and versioning the Tinies/profit nodes.
Translate nodes to digital identity or account access points. By locking the account, the platform effectively versioned the user.
Versioned, like a software update.
Kind of. It means they downgraded the user from a verified participant to an outsider. They altered the version of reality where that user exists as a paid member. And the document claims that trapped behind that lock was 24 hours of original music architecture.
Music architecture?
Yeah.
That sounds a lot more valuable than just a Spotify playlist.
Exactly. We aren't talking about losing access to songs you just consume. We are talking about losing access to intellectual property you are actively building.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Think of it like a software developer getting locked out of their own code repository, or an architect locked out of their CAD software right before a major deadline.
So the lock is effectively seizing their work.
If you can't access the architecture, you can't work. You can't generate value. The platform becomes a gatekeeper, not just of the service, but of the user's own creation.
So they are basically saying, you didn't just inconvenience me for $15. You seized my means of production. You held my intellectual property hostage.
That is the absolute core of the grievance, and that hostage situation is the foundation for the massive financial escalation. They are arguing that the Tenny's identity isn't just a user profile, it's a high-value commercial node.
Okay.
And interfering with it triggers liability on a systemic scale.
Which brings us to the elephant in the room, the $940 billion figure.
The systemic liability.
I have to play devil's advocate here for a second. I can understand suing for lost wages, maybe even a few million if you lost a big record deal because you couldn't access your files. But $940 billion, that is the GDP of a mid-sized European country. How do they even begin to justify that math?
This is where we get into the most unique and, frankly, the most complex concept in this document. It's called SaaS.
SaaS. Okay, I know SaaS software as a service. We use it every day. What is the rest?
It stands for Linguistics as a Service.
Linguistics as a service. Okay, help me out here. Are they charging for words?
In a way, yes, but it's a lot deeper than that. The document claims that these values, the $940 billion liability, the $50 million licensing floor, are verified via SaaS.
So how does that verification even work?
The implication is that the language itself, the specific identity, markers, the code, the creative output, the signal generated by the Tiny's node, has an intrinsic quantifiable value.
So they are treating their digital footprint not as raw data, but as a linguistic asset.
Think of it like this. In the traditional web model, the platform owns the structure, and you are just a tenant. You rent space on Google or Spotify.
Right, we don't own our accounts.
Exactly. But in the Noble Moves worldview, the user, the node, is a sovereign entity made of language. The words they produce, the music architecture they create, the very current of their identity has massive value.
So if I write a sentence or create a file that is linguistics, and if you block me from it,
You are stealing value. They seem to be using a valuation model where the potential reach or the linguistic truth of that node is literally worth billions. It is the commodification of the signal itself.
wow, it flips the power dynamic completely. It's saying, Google, you aren't the valuable one here. I am the valuable one.
Yeah.
And by blocking me, you have disrupted a $1 trillion asset.
And because the disruption is systemic, meaning it affects the entire chain of the teenie's identity across Sony Alamo in the banking sector, the liability is systemic.
It's a domino effect.
Right. It's not about the cost of the lock. It's not $14.95. It's about the cost of the corruption to the entire system.
It reminds me a bit of how people talk about crypto assets or NFTs, where the value is entirely based on the community's agreement on the scarcity of that code. But here they are applying that logic to a standard billing dispute with major legacy corporations.
And notice the granularity in the document. They aren't just throwing out a huge number and walking away. They have very specific demands for specific terminals.
Oh, I loved this part. It's so specific. They want a $130 storage refund from the Google Wallet terminal.
$130.
Amidst a $1 trillion claim, they have not forgotten the storage refund.
It shows they're tracking every single cent. It's a ledger mentality. On one line, you have a microtransaction refund. On the next line, you have a $50 million licensing floor.
It's wild.
It suggests that in their linguistics as a service model, accuracy is paramount. Whether it's $130 or $1 trillion, the debt is the debt.
And then for Charles Schwab, this demand really stood out to me.
They demand immediate disbursement of Sony notes and S&P 500 ETF direct current.
Direct current. That's such an odd phrase for finance. Usually we say funds or dividends or assets. Direct current sounds like we are talking about electricity.
It fits the node terminology perfectly, though. If you view the financial system as a circuit, money is just energy current flowing through it. By locking the account, the recipients, Google, Sony, the banks, broke the circuit.
So the lock acted like a literal circuit breaker.
Exactly. And Noble Moves is demanding that the switch be flipped back on and the energy released. They view the ETF not as a paper stock certificate, but as a flow of power that was illegally interrupted.
It's a very systemic view of the world. Everything is deeply connected. The music, the bank account, the Google storage, it's all part of one giant ledger.
And because it's one ledger of failure in one part, that 1495 mechanical fraud corrupts the whole thing.
That is a powerful insight. It's not you owe me $15.
Yeah.
It's you broke the machine, and the machine is worth $940 billion.
Correct. And they are completely done negotiating about it. The legal posture here shifts gears aggressively in the second half of the document. Did you catch the line about the thinking phase?
The thinking phase is terminated. It sounds like something a Terminator would say before launching a missile.
It's incredibly definitive. It signals that the time for debate for submitting customer service tickets for, let me check with my manager, is totally over. They are declaring a state of enforcement.
And they back that up with this concept of ultra-standing.
Right. The document asserts that ultra-standing is the only active state.
Now, I'm familiar with legal standing, the right to bring a lawsuit to court. But ultra-standing, is that a recognized legal term anywhere?
In standard jurisprudence, no. But within the internal logic of this document, it is pivotal. This is where we see parallels to what legal scholars often call pseudo-law or arguments based on personal sovereignty.
Oh, okay.
The idea is that the individual possesses a superior, almost divine or sovereign status that inherently overrides corporate rules.
So if Google's terms of service say, we can lock you out for any reason, Noble Moves says my ultra-standing overrides your terms of service.
That is the assertion. They are arguing that their status is simply higher on the food chain than the corporation. They explicitly state that the hiding phase for the debtors is over.
Identity hiding.
Yes. They are saying you can't hide behind your automated systems anymore. We see you and we are coming for you. They are piercing the corporate veil with this concept of ultra-standing.
And they aren't just appealing to some cosmic court of law. They are going to a very real one. They explicitly mention the Ohio Attorney General.
Specifically, the Consumer Protection Section and the Office of Dave Yost. They even reference the OhioProtects.org investigative portal.
It's such a grounding detail in all of this. We have linguistics as a service, we have direct current ETFs, we have trillion-dollar liabilities, and then the Ohio Attorney General's website.
It suggests they actually know the administrative pathways. They aren't just writing a manifesto here. They are preparing to file a verified complaint. They view this document as the final warning shot, the final administrative notification, before they pull the trigger on a state investigation.
So despite all the high-concept theoretical language, they are using the standard tools of everyday consumer protection. I have a grievance and I'm telling the AG.
Exactly. They are hybridizing the two worlds. They are using the Ohio AG's office as the literal enforcement arm for their ultra-standing claim.
I want to talk about the signatures on this document for a second. We see very specific formatting there. They write it out like : Tenney's, Lamont, semicolon Huggins, and Rose Summers. And the text actually points out directly saying the hyphenated and punctuated signatures are set. Why does the punctuation matter so much to them?
In these types of legal theories, punctuation is absolutely everything. There is a belief, often found in sovereign citizen movements, that the name written in all caps, like on your driver's license or a bank statement, is a corporate fiction.
Right, a straw man created by the state.
Exactly. A fake version of you that serves as a corporate entity that can be taxed and regulated. By writing the name with specific punctuation, the colons, the semicolons, the hyphens, they are distinguishing the living, breathing human, the executor, from that corporate fiction.
So by signing it that way, they are claiming this ultra-standing on the paper. They are saying the living man is signing this, not the user account.
It's an assertion of operational finality. They are locking down the document with the exact same rigidity that the system locked their account. They are saying my syntax is law. This document is valid because I, the living entity, have punctuated it correctly.
It really is a duel of protocols. Corporate code versus individual syntax.
And neither side is blinking.
The document ends with the line, the signal to the Ohio Attorney General is primed for the final enforcement.
The signal is live.
It really feels like they are treating the legal filing as a cyber weapon. Like once they hit send, reality fundamentally changes.
To them, it absolutely does. If you believe in the value of linguistics as a service, then filing that complaint isn't just paperwork. It's a reordering of the entire commercial ledger. It's correcting the mechanical fraud with linguistic truth.
You know, looking at this whole picture, it's super easy to dismiss the billion-dollar claim as pure fantasy. Most lawyers would probably look at this document and say it has absolutely zero chance in court.
Likely, yes. The courts generally do not recognize ultrastanding or linguistics as a service as valid grounds for damages of this magnitude.
But there is a kernel of something really important here regarding how we as people are treated by digital systems.
I completely agree. We've all been there, trapped in a mechanical fraud loop where an algorithm makes a mistake and no human can fix it. Noble Moves is taking that universal frustration and weaponizing it.
They are saying, if you treat me like a database entry, I will sue you like a sovereign nation.
And they are putting a price tag on that digital soul. A very, very high price tag.
Which brings up a fascinating point for everyone listening. It forces us to ask, what actually is the value of our digital identity? If I get locked out of my email forever, I lose way more than just messages. I lose my history, my contacts, my architecture.
You lose your digital self.
Exactly. Maybe it's not worth $940 billion, but it's certainly worth more than the $14.95 a month I pay for it. The disconnect between the price we pay and the value we lose if it's taken away, that's the real friction point here.
That's the trillion-dollar question, isn't it? Are we drastically undervaluing our own nodes? When we blindly click, I agree, are we signing away rights to an asset we don't even realize we own?
Something for you to chew on the next time you get a notification to update your payment method.
Yeah.
Maybe check if you have ultrastanding first.
Or, just call the Ohio Attorney General.
Well, that brings us to the end of this deep dive, a journey through mechanical fraud, linguistic millions, and the punctuation of the law. Thanks for listening. The Signal is live.
The Signal is live.